The Brockton blockbuster is back in action. His victim this time is the veteran Lee Savold. Marciano battered Savold right into retirement via a 6th-round stoppage win. It was bloody and vicious. The fight was stopped with Savold on his stool. Wow, that's 2 career-ending bashings in a row for this young lion. What a beast! I look forward to seeing what else he may accomplish. The first time around, Gino Buonvino made it to the 10th and final round before he was stopped by The Rock. One Boston writer at the time said that the Brockton blockbuster was unimpressive and that the heavyweight division was a stinker if someone like him was a contender. This time around, he decided to punch with his man, and he paid the price for it. Rocco absorbed some good blows before ending his man in the second. Perhaps it was the best Marciano had looked up to this point in his career. I wonder what that earlier Boston journalist Arthur Siegel thought of this one. Also, don't look now, but that's 3 straight fighters that Rocky Marciano has retired. It's the return bout. Can Ezzard Charles ice this rivalry and put Jersey Joe away for good to regain the heavyweight crown, or will the new champion even the score and retain this title? Charles entered at the heaviest weight of his career, 191.5 pounds. By today's standards, I'm sure you're having a good laugh. Even with that, he was 5 pounds the smaller man. In the first ever heavyweight title bout refereed by a black man, Jersey Joe Walcott notched a unanimous decision over the ex-champion. A decision that the crowd was divided over and the Associated Press mostly disagreed with. Oh, how the turntables. Charles was warned for low blows in 3 separate rounds, and this really irritated the challenger. His camp called referee Zach Clayton out, and that's going to be a name you should pay attention to. He's going to remain prominent. Charles joined a long list of heavyweights who tried and failed to regain the heavyweight strap. Jim Corbett, Bob Fitzsimmons, Jim Jeffries, Jack Dempsey, Max Schmeling, and Joe Louis. All in all, it was another dull outing between the two by the standards of the era, at least. The Cincinnati Cobra admitted after the fight that he knew Jersey Joe would never fight him again. Maybe that would be for the best. After knocking out Bernie Reynolds in 3 rounds, Rocky Marciano returned from a 30-day imposed suspension to knock out Harry Kid Matthews in 2 rounds. It earned him a title shot, given it was an eliminator bout. What's that? Why was Marciano suspended beforehand? You guys never let me off the hook, do you? Alright, I'll tell you. It was because he boxed his brother instead of the advertised fighters during a tour of Maine. Based off The Rock's record, September is shaping up to be the climax of Rocky Marciano's career, so far at least. Will he answer the bell to etch his name in history as heavyweight champion, or will he prove to be an overachieving hype job? Only time will tell. 42 victories, 36 knockouts. Yeah, I think I'll start keeping count from here. From July 19th to August 2nd, the Olympic Boxing Games roared. Hayes Edward Sanders captured the gold in the heavyweight division for the United States of America. After being drafted in 1951 for the Korean War, Big Ed Sanders built his reputation and skill up when he joined the Navy. He had little trouble on his way to the gold, where he fought Ingemar Johansson of Sweden. The bout was unremarkable, outside of Johansson being disqualified for quote-unquote refusing to fight. He claimed he was looking to wear his man down before a 3rd round onslaught. He was escorted from the ring by police and would not be awarded his silver medal for 30 years. In his place on the podium, the Swedish flag was placed. Ed Sanders, meanwhile, thrived as a national hero back home and has gone down in history as the first ever African-American heavyweight Olympic gold medalist. He turned pro, but that's a saga I'll update you on in 1954. Meanwhile, at middleweight, 2 divisions lower, the gold was captured by 17-year-old Floyd Patterson. Even at his age, he wasn't the youngest boxing gold medalist. That title, still today, as of 2024, belongs to Jackie Fields, who won the men's featherweight gold in 1924 at the age of 16. His record's 100 years strong. Wow. Patterson would prove to be a profound piece of boxing history, of which you'll see the deeper we get into the timeline. Prepare yourselves for a shining example of why this decade remains so highly regarded. It's time. Rocky Marciano's chance of a lifetime to become the heavyweight world champion. He's got to do it against the oldest heavyweight champion in history in Jersey Joe Walcott. Walcott was 3 months removed from his first defense in which he evened up the rivalry with Ezzard Charles. Despite the excitement of their 3 bouts coupled with Marciano's exciting rise to the top and toppling of Joe Louis, the heavyweight division still didn't have its mojo back. However, the events ranging from the Louis-Walcott duology in the late 40s up to this point had set the stage for the division to return to prominence. With Louis gone, and having been beaten by both Charles and Marciano, there was no further question of whether the crown would ever become his again. Walcott, despite splitting the rivalry with Charles 2 wins apiece, was seen as the better of the two. Marciano had beaten top contenders to earn his shot and had 42 victories against no defeats. All but 5 of those wins were by knockout or stoppage. What I'm relaying is that there was no doubt that both Walcott and Marciano were the 2 best heavyweights in the world. The only question was who was better between the 2. Marciano was young, strong, and hungry, but inexperienced. Walcott was experienced, more skilled, and confident, but a dinosaur at the age of 38. The public was split between who would take the bout and countered one another's arguments with the aforementioned points. Thus, the fight drew all eyes, compounded by Walcott's public exclamation that The Rock couldn't fight. Is that trash talk I'm sensing? Jersey Joe swore and implored reporters to mark his words that if he couldn't beat Marciano, he wanted his own name scratched from the record books. So how'd the fight go? Well, it was only one of the greatest heavyweight title fights in history. Walcott came out and proved his doubters wrong, proving he could go with the younger man. He gave Rocky the first knockdown of the Brockton Blockbuster's career in the first round, and dished his challenger a beating to behold. Seriously, just look at Marciano's face as the fight goes on. Marciano, to his credit, endured the testing of his chin and will as a fighter, and kept on as best as he could as he fell behind on the cards. Despite this, the pendulum shifted after the knockdown, and Rocky's advancing pressure that Walcott easily turned back began to penetrate. The 2 fighters engaged in clash after clash of exchanges that this period of boxing is so well known for. The action was so fast and brutal that the 2 clashed heads in the 6th round, cutting them both. Walcott may have gotten the worst given his eye took the slash versus a slashed scalp from Marciano. But strangely enough, it was Walcott who caught the biggest break because Marciano's vision was troubled, probably by the coagulant both men had applied to their cuts. This is something that will come into play during the future of the heavyweight division as well. Keep a lookout. Anyway, Walcott took complete advantage and battered Marciano. He built so comfortable a lead that it was evident the challenger needed a knockout. What followed is a moment in time, so don't blink. In the 13th round, both men prepared to dish out fight-ending right hands and let them go at the same time. Whoever lands this may just win the fight. And that man turned out to be the challenger. Marciano connected with what may be the hardest punch ever landed as he coon-cocked Walcott and put him to sleep with the Susie Q. No, seriously, the champion was out cold and collapsed like a sack of potatoes. He received a full 10 count, probably due to being the champion, but it was pointless and, in hindsight, comical. Jersey Joe's title reign was over. There was a new heavyweight champion of the world, and heavyweight boxing was back in shape. How about that? A tick has to be added to the legacy of Rocky Marciano for his managing to overcome a common barrier for most less skilled and younger fighters. Marciano endured a beating and managed to supersede the superior skill and experience of the champion Walcott to emerge with a knockout late in the fight. This is rare. It would be like if Canelo Alvarez had managed to beat Floyd Mayweather Jr. at the last second, despite the apparent gap between them as fighters at the time. Rocky Marciano, in perhaps the most important fight of the decade, became the face of boxing's marquee division in becoming the new heavyweight champion of the world. Never forget that in the heavyweight division, all it takes is one punch. This was probably never more apparent than in the first matchup between Jersey Joe Walcott and Rocky Marciano. 2 months after falling short in his quest to regain the title from Jersey Joe, Ezzard Charles dropped a decision to Rex Lane in their second meeting. Tonight, he's looking to bounce back against Bernie Reynolds. He did just that with a second-round knockout. The rebound is on. Keeping busy as the roadmap was laid for a fight a month schedule, Ezzard Charles won a decision over Cesar Brion. He was disappointed he didn't drop or knock out his man, but he shouldn't be too down on himself considering no one had done so. It had been 4 years since Ezzard Charles had decisioned Jimmy Bivins in their fourth bout. During that time, Charles was looking to step up and take Joe Louis's place as heavyweight champion. In the present, Charles is building momentum back towards a title shot. Can he beat Bivins again? He sure can. And by unanimous decision, Bivins was down in the first round. It brought their series to 4 wins for Charles and 1 for Bivins. That lone win happened way back in 1943, almost a decade earlier. The Cincinnati Cobra marches on. "1952 has come and gone. These are Ring Magazine's top 10 heavyweights. The crown now lies on the head of the blockbuster. This young man, through his steady rise to the top and the manner in which he captured the title, has forged himself as the next People's Champion. My 1952 upset of the year goes out to Rocky Marciano in his comeback, odd, shoving victory over a very game Jersey Joe Walcott, the stuff of legend. Round 13 of the masterpiece that was Walcott Marciano won Ring Magazine's Round of the Year. That ending is one for the books, in line with a Western where cowboys drew their weapons to see who would fire first. Ring Magazine selected Rocky Marciano's comeback and fulfilling of his dream as the fight of the year. It was a spectacular fight, filled to the brim with action as both men warred over the heavyweight crown. Ring Magazine's Fighter of the Year went to Rocky Marciano. It was a solid, active year for the new champion, punctuated by that thunderous war against old Jersey Joe. On October 31st, Halloween Day, the Yellow Shirt Bandit was paroled early thanks to his athletic director's endorsement and his affinity for boxing. He started up his amateur career right away, though it would be brief. We'll check in next year. On September 12th, middleweight gold medalist Floyd Patterson made his pro debut at the light heavyweight rank. He stopped all 4 of his opponents. On December 5th, heavyweight silver medalist Ingemar Johansson made his pro debut with a 4th round KO. Cleveland Williams won all 20 of his bouts. Yes, 20, and only 1 went the 6-round distance. Quite the reputation this young man is forging, as he has 20 knockouts in only 25 bouts. Rocky Marciano's undeniable emergence, perhaps begrudgingly to the shadow champs of the time in Jersey Joe and Ezzard Charles, has signaled a whisper in the wind. Change happens over time, yes, but there's something about this young man that just clicks. Don't believe me? I guess we'll see going forward in 1953.